think the major challenge in beginning this process was the mental attitude that I needed to change. I needed to do a 180 from the system my father had used for 30 plus years and that I'd been part of, and to believing that a new system would work and that I would gain the benefits from it that was indicated. It was kind of reaching out in faith for what was unseen. I could see it work other places, but would it work here? That was I guess the question in my mind as I started this process. So I started looking at some of the other farms around and tried to pick up on some of the other activities and management skills that were being used. Started going to grazing schools and seminars and pasture walks, and just took inventory of what other type of management were being used. Once I started the process, it was easy to keep going. But every step of this process, I saw benefits from them, and it encouraged me to want to keep going, to explore things that I never thought I would try. Rotational grazing, when I put in the pastures, to me that was rotational grazing. I would move them from one permanent pasture to another. But that led to day grazing within the pasture. When I first heard about that, I said, well, that's crazy, I'll never do that. But once again, once it was tried, I could see the benefits to it. And the cattle were better utilizing the grasses within the pastures. So it's just breaking it down in scale and getting a much better benefit to it. I was able to gain control of my cattle, which I didn't have. Before, they had grazing and water wherever they chose to take it. With the new system, they needed me. They needed me to let them into new pasture. They needed me to provide water source, and animals that would run from me in the beginning now would come to the gate to let them into new grass. And the pastures responded in the same way. Initially, the cattle were free to graze and overgraze a better species of grass, which they did, and what was left was weeds. But as we started resting and rotating the pastures and allowing the grasses to fill in and obtain deeper root systems, then the grazing improved, the weed pressure decreased. We still have weeds. I don't think you ever get rid of them completely, but great improvements in the pasture and animal control. As we progressed, because I had the ability to rotate and rest pastures, I was able to pull some out of rotation to implement the annuals, which there again improved the rotation because the pastures that were the permanent pastures had more of a rest period while the annuals carried the load. The advantages of the annuals is that it allows you to get early winter grazing, which I primarily hold until December 1st. And I let my fescue stockpile during that time, so it gives me a little cushion before I have to get on that. But it also develops earlier in the spring. So when we have a dry spring like we've had this year, the fescue's been dormant. It hadn't really come off, and yet with these annuals are belt high. So it really provides a good quality forage that I don't feel like I need to supplement with pellets. So the quality is far, far better than what the fescue would be for this time of year. What I've seen in these mixes is they typically will eat 60 to 75% of the volume, and the rest goes to building soil. My primary goal is volume of grazing. I need to feed animals. But at the same time, I want to improve soil quality. And so that's why we have the diversity we have. The oats primarily are for the volume. The clovers and the vetches convert nitrogen, fix nitrogen, and also their root system is a diverse system that will help enrich the soil. And the radishes go deep and they scavenge the nutrients that are deeper than the grasses can reach, bring them to the top, dissolve in the bulbs, and they're there for the grasses in the spring. As we were designing the stream exclusion system, it was pretty painful to walk around all of my creeks, and we were working it during the spring and the grass was very lush, and I'm looking at a 35-foot strip, the whole perimeter of my pasture, and I'm thinking, how can I compensate for that loss of acreage? Once the system was in place, it was very easy to see that the quantity was replaced by quality. Because of being able to rest and rotate pastures, the grazing within the pastures that were left well replaced the acreage that was lost. And so with reduced acreage, I've been able to increase my herd size and maintain healthy pastures in the process. I think the current step that I'm on now with this process, and it's been a journey I've enjoyed. I've learned a lot from it. I think others have had a chance to maybe pick up some points along the way. But the building of the soil, and I think you tend to work backwards. You see the animals, you say, I want good cattle, I want good, healthy, productive cattle. The next step takes you to the grasses. Well, they can't have that unless the grasses are there and they have good forage. But the good forage depends on soil health, and that's the unseen commodity that is below the surface. You know it's there, you really don't understand it, not real sure how it works, but you know it's needed. And I think that's where I am now, is trying to, through the forages and through the rotational grazing, to improve the soil health. So I think in closing, that would be my goal, is to try to leave this farm in better condition than I found it.